Top Boxing News.
She's saying all the right things. She says she wants to be 135-pounder world champion. This is my division. That's the way I see it. She stepped up from 130. You know, she lost all her belts. Let's not get it twisted. She's stepping up to my division, and she wants to be the world champion, and that's great. That's what we need. But to get there, she can't just be expecting to, you know, get a hand out, get the, you know, a Katie Taylor that's fallen down and is not the one that she used to be. She has to fight it, and she has to earn it the right way by stepping in there with a killer and earning it, you know, the right way.
Now, I don't want to be too mischievous, but people that aren't going to listen to the podcast, you should listen to the Toe podcast. You tell a sparring story in there. So you've shared the ring with her, and that is giving you some confidence. Is that right?
I mean, as Gary so eloquently put it, sparring is sparring. And it's true, sparring is sparring, you know, could be at the beginning of her camp, I could be at the ending of mine. But what I will say is that, you know, I got in the ring and I was expecting a lot. You know, she was someone who had turned pro. She had already been on the big stage. She's already been fighting. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting in there with Michaela Mayer. You know, I'm still an amateur, I'm 19 years old. And I got out the ring thinking, wow, that was nothing. I could have been sparring anyone. And I was not impressed, I was not surprised. There was nothing there that stood out to me. There was nothing there that said I'm in there with a world champion. So that's my mentality.
This is a growing problem for not just Michaela Mayer, but really any fighter, any established name, any established champion at or around lightweight. Caroline Dubois is coming, and she's only growing stronger over time. On the heels of her latest victory over the durable Yanina Lescano this past weekend, dominant points win, at least one knockdown scored for young Caroline. She has her sights set on former unified super featherweight champion turned lightweight contender Michaela Mayer, and needless to say, she wasn't impressed.
Referencing a sparring session that took place some time ago.
And you guys know me, I'm not given to sparring stories, gym stories, as there are any variety of gym stories out there that have been out there, like the one about how Zurdo Ramirez got the best of Dimitri Bivol in sparring, but sometime later when they fought under the hot lights when it mattered the most, it was Dimitri that won the fight.
Regardless of the sparring stories.
So I don't have a lot of stock in sparring stories and gym stories. It's who Caroline is in the ring, under the hot lights, who she has been so far, and who she's growing to be, that has my attention. I see a champion, a future world champion, unified champion, maybe even undisputed, long after Katie Taylor retires and is gone.
Caroline Dubois is the heir apparent.
I don't think either Caroline Dubois or Michaela Mayer are going to have any luck getting Katie Taylor in the ring. I don't, though I also don't think that Caroline, at least not in the near future, I don't think she's going to have any luck getting Michaela in the ring either. In spite of both fighters campaigning at the same weight for Michaela, there's nothing in it for her. There's nothing in it for her risking a fight with an unbeaten up-and-comer, even a promising one, like Caroline Dubois. Short of an alphabet title or a fat fucking paycheck, that fight don't go down.
Sky Sports know what they're doing.
Since Caroline Dubois' victory this past weekend, Sky Sports, at least from where I'm sitting, is attempting to build this fight and get the boxing community at large interested in it, though I doubt Michaela Mayer herself has any interest in fighting Caroline Dubois. In truth, I think Michaela Mayer's campaign at 135 will be short-lived.
I don't think she's going to be able to get Katie Taylor in the ring. Katie might fight either Amanda Serrano or Chantel Cameron for a second time.
She's still undisputed champion at lightweight, and because Michaela Mayer's with Top Rank, she doesn't really have access to many, if any, of the matchroom girls, the matchroom fighters. Michaela Mayer might make a decision to move up in weight, move up to welterweight. You heard that right. Very soon, Natasha Jonas will be taking on Candy Wyatt for the newly vacated IBF title at welterweight. In effect, she may become one of 3 champions at that weight, but the other 2 champions,
Sandy Ryan, Jessica McCaskill, they're over there at Matchroom.
Natasha Jonas has no interest in doing any Matchroom fighters or Matchroom as an outfit any favors. So if Natasha does become IBF champion on the undercard of Marshall versus Cruz DeZern, I could see Natasha making a voluntary defense of the newly obtained IBF title against Michaela Mayer.
More so if Candy Wyatt upsets the plans for Natasha. More so if Candy Wyatt wins, as I've no doubts Top Rank can make it worth Candy's while.
They'll pay to play to get an alphabet title in the hands of one of only 2 Valkyries in their stable. They'll pay Candy to defend against Michaela, and Michaela, I'm sure she wants to be a world champion again, in this instance, a 2-division champion.
Where does that leave Carol and Dubois?
Exactly. Where does that leave her? A potential fight between Michaela and Carolyn is not a priority to Michaela. Not if she can become a champion somewhere else.
That would make Michaela a 2-division champion.
If she were to fight the winner of Jonas versus Wyatt,
If she were to beat them, she'd become a 2-division champion.
I think a fight like that is more important to Michaela than bragging rights over an unbeaten up-and-comer, a prospect.
Thing is, the longer she puts this fight off, the more dangerous Carolyn becomes as she amasses more pro experience and rounds in the bank experience under the hot lights.
Carolyn is a lot younger than Michaela Mayer. More good years to give to the sport.
Oh, I don't think Michaela Mayer's going to give Carolyn the time of day, but that won't make the job easier down the line.
If she ever is confronted with Carolyn Dubois sometime from now, that could be a very dangerous fight for Michaela.
Sky wants this.
I think Sky Sports wants this fight for Carolyn Dubois. It feels like they're pushing for it, but Michaela might have other plans. In men's super lightweight news, Bill Haney had this to say in reference to Regis Prograis and his performance this past weekend. There's a warrant out for Regis Prograis. Devin will be serving it soon.
To some, Regis Prograis may appear low-hanging fruit based on how he looked in the Danielito Zorrilla fight.
Ho-hum in his performance, Bill smiled from ear to ear as he watched Prograis struggle. His son, mainly, hasn't officially made his decision on whether he'll move up and vacate or remain put. Nevertheless, if you begin reading the tea leaves, it appears as though Bill is expecting his boy to eventually handcuff Prograis, force him into a corner, and move forward with their showdown. It's a warrant for Mr. Regis Prograis, said Bill Haney to Fight Hub TV. I'm sure that Devin will be serving it soon.
Regis didn't look good in that fight, but then again, neither did Danielito Zorrilla. And that's what the Boo Birds failed to mention, that in spite of making Regis look bad,
Danielito lost.
Yeah.
He lost the fight. It was a losing effort, whatever it was, and however Regis looked in that fight, it's still a fight that Regis won, and it's still a fight that Danielito lost.
so if that's your point of reference...
If in any way, shape, or form that's what you plan on doing, you must plan on losing, because that's what happened.
There are some parallels to draw between Danielito Zorrilla and Devin Haney. They're both pure boxers. They both have that base style.
That bit of it they have in common, but there are some differences. Danielito Zorrilla is a statuesque super lightweight, whereas Devin Haney, he would be making his super lightweight debut. He's not a taller, longer super lightweight than Regis Prograis, not as experienced at the weight as Regis Prograis. Other subtle differences include that Danielito spent a lot of time on his bike.
Devin doesn't really do that.
They're both pure boxers, you understand, but there are subtle differences. Devin doesn't spend as much time moving lateral on his bicycle like a Danielito Zorrilla. Devin is more prone to taking a half step back and setting up a counter or holding.
Initiating a clinch.
Should the opponent slip past the jab and get mid-range to inside on Devin, Devin is more likely to hold.
What makes a Prograis versus Haney fight interesting is that Devin Haney has the stylistic advantage, but not the physical one. He's not a stronger puncher than Regis Prograis, not a more experienced fighter.
Regis would have to tweak things a bit for a pure boxer like Devin Haney. He would have to make some adjustments because the pure boxer's Achilles heel is activity, is volume. Thus, if Regis aspires to overcome that pure boxer base style,
He can't rely on counter punches. He can't rely on singles to get the job done. He's got to throw punches in bunches. He's got to try and open up Devin Haney and keep him under pressure.
whereas Devin's got to stay in character, stay that pure boxer that fires straight punches from the outside,
Taking a half step back whenever his opponent gains ground to maintain distance, create space between him and the other man, and he's got to try to do that for 12 rounds, because if he sells out in the pocket with Regis,
like he sold out in the pocket with Jorge Linares, like he sold out in the pocket with Vasyl Lomachenko, if he does that with a naturally bigger man and a naturally bigger puncher in Regis Prograis, he may find that he gets hit harder than he's ever been hit by anybody that's ever hit him.
don't forget why Regis Prograis looked bad. He looked bad because Danielito Zorrilla would not engage him.
So he spent the majority of the fight fighting from the outside, trying to, but not mounting any kind of offense. Mid-range to inside, Danielito knew this guy
cracks hard. This guy's dangerous within close quarters, so I'm going to stay on the outside of his punches.
He successfully did that, that, but he failed to mount any kind of offense.
At range to inside, Regis is dangerous, especially for a lightweight moving up in weight like Devin Haney.
Devin can't afford to spend too much time there, too much time in the pocket. He can't afford to trade punches with Regis Prograis because Devin wasn't a big puncher as a lightweight. I hardly think he's going to be an even bigger puncher as a super lightweight. Devin's bread and butter is his boxing.
He's a pure boxer, and that's what he's good at.
Completely defensively minded, economic, limiting the countering opportunities for a boxer-puncher like a Regis Prograis. So if he stays in character, he's got a shot.
But if Regis ups the tempo, throws punches in bunches,
Could make all the difference. Devin Haney is not the only one in the running for a Regis Prograis fight. Jack Catterall's advisor, Sam Jones, says, I promise you, Jack will stand him on his head.
I do feel that a Jack Catterall fight is more realistic for Regis Prograis' next fight than a Devin Haney fight.
I feel like Devin's going to want a lot of money, perhaps more than Matchroom is willing to pay out. We'll see. In the meantime, Catterall's advisor, Sam Jones, is more confident than ever that his client will have his way with Prograis. If Regis Prograis fights Jack Catterall, I promise you, Jack Catterall will stand him on his head, Jones told IFL TV. I really like Regis. I worked with Regis in the past. I like him. He's a good guy, and he can fight anybody, so I know he'll take the fight with Jack.
Let's hope.
Regis sees Jack as having beaten Josh Taylor. Didn't get the result, but Regis knows that Jack Catterall is the real deal. It's a fantastic fight. We'd love for it to be in Manchester, Jones continued. But Jack can beat Regis on any continent, any city, any country, he would beat him.
That's the fight we want next.
A better fight for me and my money than, say, an Arnold Barboza fight. Arnold Barboza, who's over there at Top Rank. Arnold has no high-profile wins or losses like a Jack Catterall. In the eyes of many, Jack beat Josh Taylor over a year ago.
Fight with him and Prograis is a good fight.
Battle of the Southpaws, not dissimilar from what we saw in the Regis Prograis versus Jose Zepeda fight, with the difference being that Jose Zepeda, he looks to be a bigger puncher than Jack Catterall. Jack is more of a jabber, stick and mover.
Yeah.
Sam Jones continued, I genuinely believe Jack will stand him on his head. It's a voluntary defense. Jack will travel, not a problem, and he will beat him in his backyard or wherever the fight will take place.
I like the jab on Jack Catterall. I think that's his best weapon.
In his last fight, we saw him set up his backhand many times and land many backhands many times in that fight.
Off the jab.
He's a prolific jabber. He's busy with that lead hand, which means that Regis Prograis, being a characteristic counter puncher, he's got to look to counter that lead hand.
Yeah.
He's got to counter the southpaw jab of Jack Catterall.
They're both southpaws.
Which means if Regis Prograis wants to counter the southpaw jab of Jack Catterall, he's going to have to
Slip the jab.
slip right to bring over the left. The left hand, the backhand, for any fighter fighting out of the southpaw stance. If he can land it, he can do a lot of damage.
So it can be awkward when two southpaws share the ring, as they are more accustomed to facing orthodox fighters, not other southpaws like themselves.
Saw a battle of the southpaws between Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis and Jose Zepeda. We saw a battle of the southpaws between Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor.
This would be another.
I understand the Devin Haney talks, but Devin Haney has a lot of options. Apparently, he's signing with Saudi Arabian promoter Skills Challenge. Jack Catterall's with Matchroom. We've signed Jack Catterall to Matchroom to get a world title opportunity, which he deserves. This is the perfect opportunity.
I do feel like Jack being right there at Matchroom with Regis, it makes that fight likelier to happen than not.
Jack Catterall is a cheaper alternative than, say, Devin Haney. Devin's been making good money for a long time. He's going to want a lot of money for a Prograis fight.
I think he will.
If he does end up signing the Skills Challenge, maybe that puts a little bit of distance between him and Regis.
A little.
I think so, because a fight between Regis and Jack, that'd be a run-of-the-mill in-house fight. In-house for Matchroom.
Easy to make.
I do feel it's likelier than not that we get Prograis versus Caterrall in place of Prograis versus Haney.
We might.
So after one fight, Regis Prograis appears low-hanging fruit to some, and things are shaking, rattling, and rolling at 140 pounds. Things are happening. Unbeaten up-and-comer Arnold Barboza took to his social media stating, "It's an honor to be ranked number one in the WBO. I'm excited to finally get my exhaustingly long-awaited shot at a world title. Since Teofimo vacated, I'm ready to fight for that title ASAP. Hey WBO or Top Rank Boxing, when can we make this happen, please?"
Arnold Barboza was supposed to be in the running for a Regis Prograis fight, but the Barboza people didn't like the money.
They walked away from the fight. Liam Paro was supposed to be standing in his place, but Liam Paro suffered an injury, and then Danielito Zorrilla, he stood in. Danielito, who's a common opponent between Arnold Barboza and Regis Prograis.
Small world.
Arnold Barboza gave Danielito his first professional loss by way of a points decision a couple of fights ago. This past weekend, he dropped another decision to Regis Prograis, and he's a common opponent between the two. Regis Prograis, who, as stated to some, may seem like low-hanging fruit, though I'm not ready to write him off. Lest we forget, Teofimo Lopez seemed like low-hanging fruit after the Sandor Martin fight, but in one fight,
Just one
fight, he turned it all around. After one performance opposite the ring, Josh Taylor, he's back on top and seeming like one of the elites at 140 pounds. Even if he has announced his retirement,
Even if he has vacated the WBO title,
it's not the point. The point is that in the sport of boxing, you're always one fight away from looking like the best you've ever looked or the worst. And in the very next fight, it could all change. Now attention turns to Arnold Barboza's upcoming title shot now that Teofimo vacated.
Arnold's next in line.
Before Teofimo Lopez beat Josh Taylor for the WBO title, when he was ranked at number 1, ranked right behind him was Arnold Barboza at number 2 and Jose Ramirez at number 3. Both Arnold Barboza and Jose Ramirez are managed by Rick Merrigan. And if Teofimo Lopez has indeed vacated the WBO title, that would make the both of them number 1 and number 2 in the WBO's ranked standings. Can we expect Rick Merrigan to orchestrate a fight between two of his own guys?
It would be an in-house fight for Top Rank. They're both promoted by Top Rank. They both fight on ESPN, but is that what Rick wants?
Is that the route he wants to go, having two guys that he manages fighting for the same title? If he doesn't, and they forego that route, ranked right behind Jose Ramirez is Uzbekistan's Shohan Ergashev. Bit of a hot potato, high-risk, low-reward guy.
So is Spain's own Sandor Martin, who's ranked right behind him at number 6.
Top Rank seems to be invested in the career of Arnold Barboza. Given how Sandor Martin made Teofimo Lopez look, is that a fight they're receptive to? A fight between Sandor Martin and Arnold Barboza for the newly vacated WBO title. They'd be running the risk of Arnold looking as bad as Teofimo.
If he has to fight Sandor, Sandor's a spoiler. Sandor's a mover.
Interestingly enough, ranked right behind Sandor is Ryan Garcia, who's still coming right off that loss to Gervonta Davis and is going through some promotional issues with Golden Boy Promotions.
The landscape is changing at 140 pounds.
Things are shaking, rattling, and rolling, and we'll see how the cookie crumbles when the dust settles.